Hi everybody, welcome in. Professor Larkin. I'm going to go through today, I'm going to demonstrate for you the proper setup of our dish area. Obviously in times when we're actually serving, this is a vital component of the overall operation, not only for the kitchen, but for front of the house to have the equipment that they need in the time that they need it in. So I'm going to go ahead and remove this. I'm going to remain socially distant from Professor Otis, who is doing the video shoot for us. But I just want to walk you through the simple setup on this and getting yourself staged and ready for service to be able to continue to provide for the kitchen and for front of the house to make sure that our guests have the best experience possible. First thing you're going to want to do is set up the dish machine. Ours is pretty simple. It's got three components to it. It's got a screen, secondary screen that inserts into that, and then it's got kind of a guard, if you will, that I'll show you exactly what it does once it's in there. So the first screen, you'll see it's got a little notch right here, and that's actually for this toggle right here, which is the drain on the machine itself. In other words, it allows the drain or the machine to drain all the liquid in it. With that, I'll put it in so that that cutout goes right where the toggle is. You'll see it falls right into place. Then I'm going to take the basket, I'm going to drop that down in. And then I'm going to take the guard, which you'll see here is a little bit different. 1, 2, 3 that are flat, and then the fourth one has got this raised bar. And what that's for is to protect any of your dish racks from sliding all the way through and therefore chipping, cracking, or dumping dishes on the other side of the machine. So we put that in with that guard to the back side, and you'll see there's a hook right there and a hook right there that goes on. And then it sits right in place for you, okay? And then, super simple, close and come down here to the control panel, which is gonna have 3 buttons. It's gonna have on, cycle, and off. At first, all you're gonna do is, it's kind of a set it and forget it, hit the on button. And then you're gonna let it go, and it will make noise, you'll hear it filling and whatnot. And once that's complete, it'll go silent again. You know you're ready to start putting dishes through it. So basically what it's doing now, you'll see the temperature will start to come up consistently. It's adding the water and getting it to a temperature in order to not only clean, rinse, clean, rinse, and sanitize anything that's going through there. So we'll let that go. Some of the other areas that you're going to get ready, we have a pre-soak, if you will, for the silverware. So as the students or servers are bringing in different silverware, sometimes some of the items will end up in that pre-soak as well. Our creamer urns, things like that. What you'll do is have this staged and set up ready to go by simply putting this hose in with the basket and the basin. And all you're going to do is press that button once, and you'll notice it starts to fill. Okay? You may have to hit it a second time to get it up to a higher level depending upon how busy you're going to be and knowing that you're going to use it for more than just say 1 load of silverware. So, wow, that stopped pretty quick. We'll hit it a second time. Please understand it hasn't been used in almost a year now. So, actually no, 6 months or so. So, we'll take the opportunity here, we'll let that fill. Some of the other things that you're going to stage or some of the things that you'll use, pretty standard dish rack. You'll see here, obviously, all the slats where you would put the different dishes standing up, and I'll grab a few here in a minute to demonstrate for you. Another rack that we have, it's a flat rack, and it's going to be for your silverware. And all you have to do with that is take the basket out of the pre-soak over to the flat rack itself, dump any of the silver on there. Obviously, you can go back to using the pre-soak, which oftentimes we'll have out here or out here, so that the servers can access it easily. And then you would take that silverware and go ahead and put it through. Okay? Some of the other items to stage, I'm going to see if we got, linen. Linen and garbage. And this is one where I'll always go back and forth on what order to have them in. I'd rather have someone accidentally put garbage in the linen bin than put a linen in the garbage bin. Linen in the garbage bin, you're throwing money away, okay? So oftentimes I'll have the linen one closer. Again, if they accidentally put some garbage in there, it's not the end of the world. I think our linens, and I gotta double check this with our purchasers, I think our linens typically go for about 10 cents a piece. So you think about that. Every one of those that ends up getting thrown away you're throwing a dime away. And in any one instance, doesn't seem like that big of a deal. But as you add that up over service to service to service, I think I demonstrated like 4 napkins a shift in a 7-day-a-week operation would ultimately be about $130. Okay, I'm pretty sure you don't want to forfeit that. Much along the lines with the linen that you may put on tables, any of the towels that you may use for cleaning around the kitchen and whatnot, you're certainly looking to get that value out of it, if not more, okay? Some of the other staging components that I'll show you, I'll grab a glass rack over here. We have 3 separate glass racks that we utilize, and I'll demonstrate the one. This would be for our water glasses, and you'll put those up top. On this side, Mrs. Otis will bring you around there, and you'll see that's facing the side where your fellow classmates or the servers will come in, and they can go ahead and put the glassware up there. The caution will always be, sometimes you may have 2 people out in the real world working in dish. In our classes, maybe 1, maybe 2, sometimes if you're lucky, maybe 3 people back here. So it kind of makes it a little bit easier for the service team to come in, leave the equipment, and then the dish team will take care of it. But anything that you do with, once this is full, what I will always ask is from your side, and Mrs. Otis, if you'll step up to the glass rack, just hold it like it balanced, and you would say full rack coming over. That
full
way,
rack coming over.
There you go. That way the dish person can make sure I got it and set it in place. So that way it's not you thinking you've got it, and I'll demonstrate going the other way. You think you've got it and you do something like this. And there goes a whole rack of glasses on the floor. So full rack coming over, got it. I put it in place. I know I can go to the machine next, okay? So you've kind of staged this area, not only from a silverware standpoint, you'll have glass racks, coffee cup racks, possibly the red and white wine or even champagne flute, really dependent upon how many you're going to use. You're going to have your plateware rack as well as your silver rack available to you. The operation of the machine itself, because once you have all of this staged, you're pretty well set. Okay, so now it's your opportunity. In our classroom environment, we'd be out helping the front of house. Real world, if dish is set and ready to go, they might jump in and prep. And that might be their, this is the entry level for them, and they're working their way towards the kitchen. And that might be when they can get this upstaged and ready to go, they can then step over and do some of the prep work to hopefully show off that skill set to the sous chef or the executive chef to eventually, be a part of the culinary team there. Operation of the machine itself, you heard it went silent now. And as you can see, I think Mrs. Otis showed you the temperature's up to an acceptable level. We're going to imagine that this has plates on it. Okay, we will push the rack in, and you'll see that back bar holds it in place so it doesn't go all the way through. And then all you're going to do is close the door. And it's clean.
Would you pre-rinse, Mr. Larkin?
Some of them you will. Really depends on how good of a job they did on the other side. It's like that commercial, I forget which one it is now, for the young girl, and it drives me batty. What does the dishwasher do? It washes dishes! So, if you were to have several of the dishes on here, you could certainly, if the water was on, spray them off. You'll get some of the larger debris off into this catch basin. And below that catch basin, we also have a garbage disposal. So anything that ultimately builds up and whatnot can be either thrown away, or I don't think we would put that in compost. I don't think we would want to do that, but we would throw it away, rinse the rest of the stuff down, and then obviously be ready for more. You don't want to let this build up too much because, like with the garbage disposal, sometimes it will back up and you'll see this start to fill with water. It's nothing to panic about, and it's actually something I should demonstrate for you as well. The operation of the garbage disposal is literally this easy. There's a green button and a red button. Okay, the green button on top starts it. The red button on the bottom stops it. If that were to start filling with water, literally that quick, because all it's doing is stirring real quick, opening and closing the flap for it, and then the water itself will drain off. So it'll leave the debris, but the water will drain off. And oftentimes we ask that you do it that quickly because sometimes, and I'm not sure what condition needs to happen, but if you turn this on for a prolonged period of time, it'll actually vibrate this wall and you can hear it in the dining room. And everything that we do in the kitchen and in the dining room is in deference or in consideration of the guest. So you're not trying to create something that's going to raise an eyebrow, like, what's that noise? What's that sound I'm hearing? So you would be very cautious with that.
Do we have to mix the chemicals, Mr. Larkin?
Absolutely not. If you look up here, we may have to reload them, but we certainly don't have to mix them. Your pre-soak here that we did for the silverware, it's all of them actually are blocks. I'm not sure if we might have a example one. I think they pulled them all. So it's a block of pre-soak cleaner that goes in there, and then water is pumped in on it to ultimately come out there and end up in. For the machine itself, you see where we have detergent and rinse chemicals. Okay? So all of that is tied into the system. You have nothing to do with it other than perhaps occasionally reloading it. And this is kind of your control center, if you will. Right now, it's in fine operation. I guess the go light is on, if you will. If there were any issues, there will be an audible beep that occurs, and you'll see a red light flashing on this display, and it will also show you what area is having the problem, and then you can match it up to here. Like probably the one that happens the most is the detergent is out. In other words, this basin is empty. And the machine realizes that and alerts you so that you can put a new block of it in, and then you don't have to like reset this or anything. Once you put the block in and run it through, it'll reset itself because it'll start to realize that there's enough product in there. Once it stops making noise, and you will want to listen closely because the sanitized cycle is very quiet, but you can still barely make it out that it is moving liquid. Worst case scenario, you're going to open up and you're going to get a quick little shower. But once you hear that it stopped, you would pull it out. I often tell my students, go ahead and put it up like that to give it a little more airflow to cool off. We're never so busy in the dining room because, again, it's a classroom first, that you're in a rush to get this out of here. So I often tell them, give it a couple seconds to cool down, especially if you don't have industry fingers yet. Mrs. Otis, myself, Chef Samet, Chef Patulski, Chef Traver, Chef Withy, Mr. and Mrs. O'Connell, we all have industry hands. In other words, we've been handling hot plates, glassware, silverware for so many years, it doesn't impact us as readily as it may for someone that doesn't, okay? So let it cool for a second, and I oftentimes say too, go ahead and stack it right here, because you think about it, over on the line here, where all the plateware is stored, that's where expo is happening. That's where there's a lot of activity. So if they don't need it in that very moment, I'd say leave it here until you see that break in activity to be able to go over there. That's really it. We can break down the machine now. It's really just as simple as setting it up was. You're going to go ahead and you're going to hit the off button. I will show you as well. That cycle button coincides with the numbers down below here, 1 through 6. 1 being plates, 6 being pots. It basically determines the length of the cycle that this machine will go through. So if you want it to run longer, you would hit cycle up until it's on 6, and it's going to run for several minutes. Everything that we use it for would typically be on 1. Okay? So to break it down, now that you've used it, everything's complete, you hit the off button. You pull the drain, which is this toggle right here. You pull that up, and you'll see the water starts to drain. And I often say right at the very end, you do want to be cautious because these components can and will be hot with the water that's been in the machine itself. You pull that back out. Okay, pull the basket out. I usually give it a nice solid hit. Rinse out any of the debris that's gathered in that, because that's kind of like your last defense from any of that debris getting into the mechanism or ultimately going into the drain. So we rinse it off here to go in the garbage disposal or to throw it out. You can leave that there to dry. And you're going to pull this screen Always being careful because it oftentimes closes that toggle. Wooden screen, the same thing. You're going to give it a quick rinse at the base. Seemingly a lot of it gathers at that end. I'm not exactly sure why. But just rinse off as much as you can. You may have to get a green scouring pad and go ahead and scrub off any of that debris if it's not coming off with just water pressure. See here, rinse that off. And then stand that up to dry off, bolster that back up, close that off. That'll continue to drain. You may see other debris in here that you want to rinse off with a hose. You can certainly do that as well. Putting stuff away once you're completed, any of the racks back down below or wherever they may be stored. I've seen them stored up here. I've seen them stored down below. But you want, like any closing side work, you want as little for the next person to have to do. Okay, so this would be put back up in place up above for the next team to come in and utilize.
Thanks, Mr. Larkin.
You're welcome, Mrs. Otis.
We're nice and clean now.
Yes, we are.